Metalheads! Welcome to another episode of Metal Verbalizers podcast. Do we like speed? Do we like angelic vocals? Do we like down-tuned guitars? Of course we do. This week I'm bringing you the symphonic metal act, Elegy of Madness. The band was founded back in 2006 in Italy, and the name came to be during one of their rehearsals. They had several options for names, but in the end they came up with the word elegy. Since they were at the time very influenced by progressive metal, they decided to combine elegy with madness. Madness came, as I understand it, from the way they were producing some parts of their music at the time. Some of the band's influences are Rammstein, Cradle of Filth, Epica, Rotten Christ, Paradise Lost. It is really a mix of genres. We got everything from Epica, which play progressive metal, to Rotten Christ, which play more black metal. I think that brings a very interesting mix of sounds to the band. One of the first bands that came to my mind when I heard Elegy of Madness was Nightwish. I think that they have similarities in the main vocals that often become more operatic than regular vocals, if you know what I mean. These angelic vocals are then backed up by growl, actually, in many cases. And this is, to me, one of the heaviest combinations imaginable. I don't think that I have had any bands at all yet that has mixed in growl in their music. But in this case, the growl is used more as a supporting vocal and not a main vocal necessarily, which I prefer. It is more like using salt when cooking. Too much makes it taste like shit, but the right amount makes everything better. When asked, the band didn't really think that they sound like any other band. A lot also, since the members has so many different influences. Quoting the band, maybe we can be compared to Elaine, but we are constantly trying to have a unique style and make a distinctive mark in the music scene. End of quote. With their latest album, they have gone for a different image. This time, a much darker theme. The album cover is based of a skull and some golden lines on a black background. This is also to emphasize the darker mood behind the lyrics. The lyrics are, as I understand it, about the so-called master number 11. More specific, the different meanings of the number. A few examples that was given were esotericism, Kabbalah, and tarot. I am sorry for the pronunciations of those, but this means that each song will give a different interpretation of the number. But now we have talked a little bit about the band, so I think that it is a good time to talk about the actual music that has been released by the band. We are going to start off with a demo that they released back in 2007 called Another Path, and an album where the demo was featured, The Bridge of Sighs, released in 2009. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to have a listen to these releases, which means that I will be unable to review it, but this is where their journey starts off. Continuing down the line, we got another album called Brave Dreams. This one was released in 2013, so there was a few years of a gap between this one and the previous one. But I don't really think that is bad. I personally prefer when it takes a few years extra and the work is put in to make a great album, rather than releasing every other year maybe and have to rush a release. In this one you will find songs like For You, Into Detail, and 21st March. The whole album has got 11 tracks. Now we have reached 2017 and a new album was released. This one is called New Era. Cello is one of my favorite instruments when it comes to strings, and one of the songs on this album starts off with a beautiful piece played on a cello. The song is called Fairy Tale. Together with Fairy Tale you will find songs like Divine Obsession, Endless, and Reset. 2019 was the year when their single Ego Demon was released. This is a song where you got the perfect mix between symphonic elements and metal. You got everything from beautiful singing to choirs, chugging guitars, and gut-punching drums. 2020 was the year the whole world was shaken by a big pandemic. But Elegy of Madness come to our rescue and releases yet another super heavy single. I absolutely love the call and response singing in the chorus, and the melody lines played once again on a cello. Even better is the bridge, where the song takes a turn into Demonville, if you know what I mean, and changes character a little bit before they bring it back home in the final chorus. This song is called Believe. Just when you thought that we might be done with 2020, I say that we have just started. They also graced our ears with a full-length album called Invisible World. I would personally say that the rest of the album clearly follows the same level of heavy as the singles that we've just talked about. Speaking about those singles, of course they are featured on this album, and other songs that you will find on this 11-track album are Apnoea, I have no idea how to pronounce that name, Core, and The Rise of Sirius. What also was released as another single this year is a live version of their song Core. In 2021, they continued on their live theme and released a full live album. Since it is live, everything is one take. Instead of playing one instrument at the time in the studio, they are all on stage together and play together. This means that we will have a completely different bond between them when they play. Even cooler for this album is that they actually play with a live orchestra. So the strings aren't a backing track, they are played live on stage with the band. I'm unsure if it is a backing track or synth-based string section when they make the actual albums, or if they actually record an orchestra for these parts. That I can't tell you about. But this makes everything so much more real for this album. The orchestra is called Giovan Orchestra Jonica, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and the album is called Live at Frusco Theatre. The album was both recorded and filmed, so if you want to actually see everything being played, you can go onto their official YouTube channel and watch it. The year is now 2023 and 3 singles has been released: Hybrid Love, Crawling, and Broken Soul. Obviously, these singles are not going to be standing by themselves. They also released a full-length album with, once again, 11 tracks. This album hit me like a truck on the highway. This is without a question the heaviest and the best that the band has put out so far. The previous releases was fantastic. This I don't say because I've been told to say so. This is 100% according to me. Together with the singles, you will find absolute bangers like Revelations, Moon, and Legion. Now we have gone through all of the releases that the band has blessed us with so far. So that means that it is a perfect time for my little segment that I call Erik's Top 5. These are some of my favorite songs and can be a good start when you are going to listen to Elegy of Madness. Honestly, this was one of the hardest lists that I've done so far, but here we go. Number 1, Ego Demon from Invisible World. Number 2, Believe from Invisible World. And number 3, Apnoea from Invisible World. Number 4, Broken Soul from 11. Number 5, Hybrid Love from 11. And a honorable mention because I couldn't leave it out. Number 6, Portrait of a Ghost from number 11. This was my pick of 6 tracks actually that I really like from the band. I know that I cheated and put in an extra one, but now I want to hear about what you think. Do you agree with my list, or do you have other songs that you think should have been on the list? There are so many songs that could have been on the list. Head on over to our social media and tell us about your top 5 list. Exciting plans for the future for the band is that there will be a new album. This album is meant to be a continuation of their album 11, or XI, depending on how you want to say it. But this time with a different look. And of course they are going to play more live shows where they will play some songs from their latest album. I think that this kind of music usually have a quite specific target audience, but in this case I think that because of that they have such a wide range of influences, I think that there will be a much wider range of an audience that will take a liking to their music. I think that if you like any genre in between progressive metal to black metal basically, you will have a great chance of liking Elegy of Madness. And I happen to know that in that range is a very big part of you guys, our listeners. But me personally, I have been very strictly into the old school heavy metal and rock like Priest, Motorhead, AC/DC and more like that. And even avoided music that had growl in it. But I have actually definitely taken a liking to this band. With that said, fans to their music can come from any genre basically. If this band sounds like music that you might like, don't hesitate to give their music a chance. Even though you feel like it might not be exactly for you, give 1 or 2 songs a chance, you might be surprised. If you happen to like their music, don't forget to give their social media a follow so that you are updated on what's next for the band. Following the band's social media is one of the easiest and cheapest ways to support the band. It's completely free even. If you like what we are doing here on Metal Verbalizers podcast, bringing you new awesome bands to listen to, don't forget to give us a follow as well, so that you can be updated on what we are going to talk about next. Sometimes we also talk to the bands and have them tell us stories from the roads. That is something that you do not want to miss out on. On our social media, you can also give us tips on what bands you want us to verbalize next. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Metal Verbalizers podcast, verbalizing the band Elegy of Madness.